Hello everyone, are you ready to learn how to do long division? Well, today we are going to learn some easy and simple strategies that make long division easier for anyone to do. So before we begin, make sure you have something to write with so that you can follow along with me. All right, let's begin. When we divide, it's important to remember that we are making equal groups. We are either looking for how many are in each group or how many groups we can make. For our first example, we are going to take this problem right here, 831 divided by 4. In this problem is going to represent what we call a dividend. It is our total or our whole that we are going to break apart into equal groups. The 4 in the problem is what we call a divisor. And it can either represent the number of groups we're making or the number that go in each group. For our example today, I'm going to refer to our divisor of 4 as the number that go into each group. Okay, so when we talk about long division, we are going to set it up a little different than we do our other operations. For long division, you are going to draw a little swoop and a line. Your dividend or your total is going to go in the middle. And one connection I like to make is that this kind of looks like an area model. So if I was to think of it as an area model, okay, we know that our total goes in the middle, very similar to here. Okay, and then our groups go on the side and the top. In long division, your divisor is going to go on the side. So in an area model, it would look like that. And just like we put our other part on the top, we are going to put what we call our quotient at the top as well. Our quotient is an answer in a division problem. Now, if we want to connect this back to multiplication, we think of our 831 as being our whole, and our 4 and whatever our quotient are going to be are our factors. They are our equal parts. Before I begin, I'm going to set up a couple tools for myself that make it easier. And I think you will find that it is also going to help you as you work through the process. I'm going to use different colors to represent the different steps in the process. This is a great way to help you visualize the order of each of the steps in the process. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my 5 steps. So those steps are D for divide, M for multiply, S for subtract, and B, bring down. And next to each of these letters, I wrote symbols to help us remember what each step is asking us to do. You're also going to want to add either an R at the bottom for repeat. I like to draw an arrow that shows me that as long as I have a number to bring down, I'm going to start back over again and repeat the process. And what's great about long division is that these steps right here can work for any division problem that you're given. So once you've learned how to do it with a smaller number, you can do any number. The next thing that I'm going to set up is what I call a ratio table. And it's just a way to organize my math facts. For this table, I'm going to set it up like this. My divisor is going to go up at the top. I'm going to circle it in purple so that you can see that I'm going to put it right there. Now, the left-hand column I'm going to use to represent the number of groups of 4 that I make. And the right column is going to be my total for that number of groups of 4 that I make. When we divide, we know that we are breaking apart a larger number, and when I break apart a number, I know that my number is going to get smaller. So I'm going to use pink to represent the number of groups that I have. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm only going to go to 9 on my ratio table for this. After you divide, the next step after you divide is going to be to multiply. Now, some helpful ways to remember these steps. There are different ways to help you remember this. So you can think of it as a division family: dad, mom, sister, brother. Does McDonald's serve burgers? Dirty monkeys smell bad. However you want to remember it, I highly recommend that you find a way to remember what each of these letters represents in the division process. Okay, you'll see that I circled where my quotient's going to go in pink so that I know that when I complete this first step in the process, it is going to go on the top. And you see the pink over here on the left is also going to represent what numbers I'm going to put on the top for my quotient. As I said, the right column is going to be the totals, okay? Or when I multiply my groups by how many are in each group. And I'm going to do that in green. Okay? Green, my products, just like with area, are going to go in the middle. Right? So I'm going to put these over here. So if you're still learning your multiplication facts, a really helpful tip is you can go ahead and draw the number of dots for your divisor. There we go, little squiggle ones. So I drew 4 dots to represent that I am making groups of 4. What's nice about this is I still have an organized table that even if I know my multiplication and division facts, I can look at as a way to reference what number goes where. Okay? And if I don't, I can still be successful by using counting on or repeated addition. So I'm going to start with if I don't have any groups of 4. Okay? If I have 0 groups of 4 or 0 times 4, that is going to be 0. 1 group of 4, 1 times 4 is 4. Now I go to 2 groups of 4. So if I'm counting on, I would see 4, and I'm going to count 4 a second time. 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see each time I'm adding another group of 4. Now I need 3 groups of 4, so I need to add 4 3 times. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and added a third time, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I need another group, so 13, 14, 15, 16. And I'm just going to complete this table. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 4, 24. 7 times 4, 28. 8 times 4, oh, getting tiny, 30. 2, and last but not least, let's count one last group of 4 from 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Okay. I think we're ready to begin. Once you have your table set up, let's go ahead and start. In division, it is the only time of the 4 operations that we are going to start with the largest digit. You know, when you add and multiply and subtract, we always start with that small digit. This is the rule breaker. We start with the largest one. So in this case, the 8. We need to think, what is 8 divided by 4? That's our first step. Another way of thinking that is how many groups of 4 can we make from 8? And another way that I prefer is thinking about money. I always find that very helpful. So if I think about this total in here as that I have $8 and I'm going to, kind of like the dollar store, only this store is the $4 store. Everything costs $4. I'm going to ask myself, well, if I go to the $4 store with $8, how many things can I buy? So to help us with that, if we don't know our multiplication and division facts, we are going to look over onto our table. Okay. So we know that 8 is in green, it's our total, so we're gonna look over here on this side, and we're looking for the closest to 8. We can't be more than 8, because we only have $8. We cannot spend more than that, but we can spend less. So if I look at my table, I see that all of these numbers are more than I have. But I see right here that I have 8. So we're going to go ahead and circle the 2 and the 8. Okay. See that 8 divided by 4 is 2, or 2 times 4 is 8. I'm starting with division, divide, the pink. So I'm going to look for the pink side, which is the number of groups I made. And that's going to go on the top where I put my other parts, my quotients. And then if you remember, like our area model connection, the totals are going to go down here on the bottom. So we can remember top, bottom. So I've circled the 2 and the 8. So the 2 is going to go on the top. And it goes right above the 8. So I've divided. What's my next step? That's right. It is M for multiply. So thinking about it as an area model, I'm going to multiply my 2 parts. 2 times 4. If I look over here, I see that 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 8 here on the bottom. Okay. So we've done our first 2 steps. Top, bottom. Now we need to subtract. We do this to see if we have any left over. And we see 8 minus 8 is 0. So we do not. Step 4 is to bring down the next digit. We look next to the 8, we see the 3 hanging out. So we're going to draw a little arrow to fill that spot and let us know that right next to the 0, we're going to put a 3. If we're thinking about the family here, dad, mom, sister, brother, we want our sisters and brothers. We like them to hang out together so they go next to each other. Since we brought a number down, that means we need to repeat the process. So we're going to start back over at our D now, which means we're going to go back to our table. If we have $3, can we buy anything for $4? Well, if I look over here, I don't see anything that is 3. Well, 4 is too much. If I bought one thing, it would be $4. So that means I cannot buy anything. 0 is the closest I can get to 3 without going over. Anything less than your divisor we know is going to be 0. If you don't have at least this, 4, you can't buy anything. So I see that this is the green. Remember, is going to represent our multiplying. That goes on the bottom. And the pink column for divide goes on the top. So what number goes on the top? Yes, we put a 0. And what is 0 groups of 4? What goes on the bottom? Look on our chart. That's right. We put a 0. All right, what do we have to do next? After we go to our mom, we go to our sister. So we need to subtract to see if we have anything left over. Let's go ahead and subtract 3 minus 0. That gives us still 3. And if we look, we still have one more number to bring down. So we're going to go ahead and bring down that 1 to go hang out with his sister, which makes the number 31. Since we brought a number down, that means we have to start back over again. I have $31 now. Let's go ahead and look over on our chart. How many groups of 4 can we make if we have 31? Well, 32 is really close. So sometimes I think, people think, oh, that's close, but you have to be careful. Even though 32 is really close to 31, it's still more than what we have. We cannot spend $32 if we only have 31. So we go up a group, and we see that we can make 7 groups of 4 for a total of 28. Right? What goes on the top? Yep, 28 divided by 4 is 7. So we put our 7 at the top. Then we go down to multiply. 7 times 4. If we look on our table, what was 7 times 4? 28. So I'm going to put 28. And then I am going to subtract 31 minus 28. Need to regroup. I cannot take 8 from 1. So I'm going to take one of my 10s and add it over to my 1's place. So that makes 11. 11 minus 8. Let's go ahead and count back or up. 10, 9, 8. That's 3. And 2 minus 2 is 0. Check, back up. Do we have any more numbers to bring down? Any more brothers here? Forgot my arrow though. No, we do not. So because there's no number to bring down, we do not go back and repeat. We're done. Well, what do we do with our 3 here that are left over? They become what we call our remainder. If you were talking about money, it would be what you have left over. Be your change that you get to go home with. And when we write it in a division problem, we are going to write it as R for remainder and then the number. So here is our finished problem. 831 divided by 4 is 207 remainder 3. Let's go ahead and make sure we did it correctly. To check our division, we are going to multiply our two parts back together and then add that remainder back in at the end. So we're going to go ahead and set up 207 times 4. And then I go ahead and add my 3 right here so I don't forget that that 3 is part of our total. We need to put it back in at the top. So we've got our ratio table. So this is awesome. We have it to help us. So we can look over here and we need to do, remember, division's the only one we start with the largest digit. So we need to start over here with our 7. 7 times 4. We can go ahead and find 7 over here. I see that 7 groups of 4 is 28. So we're going to go ahead and will it fit? Put my 8 there. Go ahead and regroup my 2 above the 10s. Now I'm going to do 4 times 0. If I look over here, 4 times 0 is 0. And then I need to add my 2 that I regrouped back in. So 0 plus 2 is 2. Okay. Then I'm going to go over and do 4 times 2. 4, and then find my 2 down here. And I look across, that is 8. Okay? If I forget to add that remainder in back, you guys, you're going to end up with 828, and you're going to think you got it wrong. Make sure that you add whatever that remainder is back in at the end. So we need to do 828 plus 3. So 828 plus 3 gives us 831. And we can see that our two totals match, which means we did it correctly. Congratulations. Now it's your turn to try some on your own. If you need to go back and re-watch the steps, please do. Remember, what were some things we did to make this easier? We added our process. Dad, mom, sister, brother. We made a ratio table. We even color-coded where each number goes in our problem. Here are 3 problems for you to practice. If you're feeling really brave, we have our challenge problem at the end. 516,034 divided by 7. Remember, if you remember the steps, the process, you can do any of these problems. All right, good luck.